This weekend, I'm challenging myself to write 5,000 words. It has been a crazy week this last week. I've barely written at all, and I wanted to kind of jumpstart my writing and get back into it again. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie, and I'm writing my very first book, which I call Project Lily, and I am currently in the 4th draft, and I'm only a few chapters in. And I recently got sick with what I think is the flu. If you watched my last vlog, this is what I'm talking about. This has been going on for almost an entire week. It's actually a week ago today is when I first got sick. And I've not done very much writing because of it. I felt really tired, haven't had any energy, and writing just went by the wayside. I'm still not feeling super up to going out and about, and it is the weekend coming up, and I wanted to do something useful and something that didn't really require a lot of energy, and that is writing. Although it does require a lot of mental energy. It'll be really good to get back into writing, and that's why I wanted to do a writing challenge to really force myself to get into it and to do a little bit better than I normally do on a day-to-day basis. Because I've been racking up 0-day word counts for quite a few days, I'd like to make up a little bit for lost time. And I thought a little bit about what would be a good word count challenge, and 5,000 words over the weekend seemed very appropriate. I didn't want to set a crazy challenge like 10,000 words or something like that for the weekend, because it has to be realistic, and I still am recovering from my illness. So I don't want to lose sleep and work into the night or wake up early and do something. Sleep is my #1 priority right now so my body can continue to heal. I also wanted to do something that wouldn't stress me out during the day. I do need to take breaks during the day to do whatever I need to do and to catch up on things that I've put off because of my illness. So it needed to be a reasonable word count and something that was definitely achievable, but that still provided a little bit of a challenge. I forgot to do the math before I started recording, but 5,000 words in the weekend, which would be Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday, that's around 1,600, 1,700 words per day, which is slightly more than I write in a day, but it is definitely what I have written in days prior. It'll be a really good challenge for me because, especially in draft 4, I'm averaging pretty low word counts per day, like around 300 to 600, just because I'm doing a lot of revisions and it's taking a lot more time. I'm not sitting down and writing from scratch like I am the first or second draft. It will be challenging for sure to meet this every day, but I think I can do it. Tonight is just going to be writing. I don't have any plans. I'm not going to make anything, no cookies or anything. I really want to get as much as I can done tonight, and then tonight's going to be pretty relaxing. So I think it will be a good way to unwind and enjoy my evening. Because it's only a few hours tonight that I'll be writing, I probably won't get that 1,600 to 1,800 word range that I was hoping for on a day-to-day basis, simply because I don't have enough time. If I got it, that would be amazing, but I don't expect myself to. I want to see how many words I get tonight and then use that as a guidepost for how many words I need to write tomorrow and Sunday. I'm really looking forward to jumping back into writing and to making some high word count goals because I have been behind. It's going to be a really fun evening, and I can't wait to see what my word count is going to be. I've had quite the late start today, a bit unexpectedly. I slept for over 10 hours last night, which is very, very rare for me. And when I checked my clock this morning, when I woke up, it said 9 a.m. I was in so much shock. I thought it might have been daylight savings time because I was like, there's no way. I never sleep this late. I think it just goes to show how sick I've been, and my body just needed some extra rest last night. I had planned on having a really long writing session this morning, which obviously did not happen because by the time I woke up, got out of bed, got ready, ate breakfast, all the things, it was practically lunchtime. So my writing session didn't really happen today. That's okay. I still have plenty of time to work on my writing today. Last night, I wrote 1,200 words, which I'm very excited about. That is really great progress. The only thing I'm not excited about is I wasn't really happy with what I wrote. This does happen to me sometimes where I'm just not thrilled about a particular direction I took. And this chapter that I wrote last night, I believe it's the end of chapter 4. It might be chapter 5. I need to check this. I have always struggled with how my main character feels in this moment based on what has happened to her. And I wrote it a particular way last night. I changed it from the last draft and I just wasn't feeling it. By the time I got to the end, I was like, I don't like this at all. And I've struggled with this for the entire time I've been writing this story. I've never really fully been able to pinpoint my character's emotional state. And to go even further, I wasn't really happy with other characters' emotional states during this time either. When I got to the end of the chapter, I just was like, I don't like anything I wrote. Normally, this is something, especially in this draft, that I would try to fix right away, but I'm not going to for 2 reasons. First, I have word count goals I've got to hit. I don't have time to read something, reread it, rewrite it, and go over and over and over. Second is my characters are going to be feeling this way for a few chapters, so I have the ability to play around with it a little bit as I continue writing the next few chapters. I think once I have enough to write and to read, I'll have a really good understanding of what needs to happen, and that'll be a good time for me to sit down and fix everything. The last thing I want to do is try and fix it and think it works and then start writing another chapter and realize it doesn't work. I don't want to find myself in that situation. So I think it's better if I write all of the chapters now and then go back and reread everything and revise it when I'm done. Not an entirely great way to start a weekend writing sprint or vlog, but it is what it is. And sometimes this happens and I don't ever want to hide the ups and downs of this writing process. But I do have plenty of words left to write today and tomorrow based on my 1,200 words. That means I have 3,800 words left for Saturday and Sunday, and that's 1,800 words per day. I think that's very doable as long as I remain dedicated and I don't get distracted. I'm gonna settle in for the afternoon. I'm going to make dinner tonight. That's going to kind of be my break. I'm still feeling pretty bad, like really congested and stuff. I'm going to make some chicken noodle soup. I really craved this when I was sick, but I didn't have all the ingredients and I did not have the energy to go to the store. So I did go to the store recently, bought all the ingredients, and I'm going to have my chicken noodle soup, even though it's a little delayed from when I wanted it. It will still be delicious. That's going to be my break this evening, and then I'll get back into writing later tonight. I'm really hoping I can make a lot of progress and maybe get past 2,000 words. That would be really cool. And I just hope that I'm a little bit happier with my work as I write it today. I was so happy to be cooking chicken noodle soup tonight. Because I've been so sick over the last week, not only have I barely written, but I've barely cooked. This is one of the first nicer meals I've made myself since getting better, and I'm glad to get back into the cooking rotation and to make myself some good food to eat while I'm writing. Chicken noodle soup is one of my go-tos even when I'm not sick. It's so easy to make, I don't have to expend a lot of effort or a lot of ingredients, and the end result is a few days worth of some really good soup. But today especially, it did make me feel a little better. There's always such a comfort in chicken noodle soup, so it was nice to eat this at the tail end of my illness. It kind of felt like I was giving my sickness a little kick to go away, and I'm glad to be almost done with it. Making my soup and enjoying it was definitely a good break for me in between this writing challenge, and it helped fuel me so I could keep going in the evening. I'm done for the evening or the day, whatever you want to say. And I have to say, I'm very, very impressed with myself. I'm actually writing so much today that I am stopping early to give myself a break and enjoy the night a little bit, which is very rare for me. So I wrote chapter 5 in its entirety today. I started it earlier this afternoon. It's now the evening and I'm done with it. And it was a little bit challenging because chapter 5 ended up being a combination of chapters 4, 5, and 6 from draft 3, and now it's draft 4, so I changed it around a little bit. Because I combined parts of these chapters, it felt long as a chapter, but it really wasn't that long. But today, I wrote almost 2,500 words. Very, very good. And that brings me to a total of 3,700 words, which means tomorrow I must write 1,300 words. I think this is completely doable tomorrow because I have most of the day tomorrow as well. My hope is that I will actually wake up on time and maybe I can spread my word count out throughout the day a little bit. I think that maybe part of the reason why I wrote so much today is because I felt like I was behind. Like I forced myself to work a lot this afternoon. And this afternoon, I can't remember what word count I was at before dinner, but I think it was around like 1,800. So I was really like at the mark where I could have stopped if I wanted to write 1,800 words again tomorrow. But I wanted to keep going because I had the time and the energy to just keep writing. I will say I do have some thoughts about doing this writing challenge in general now that I am kind of in the middle of it. I honestly don't think a writing challenge is good for me at this point in my writing process. I'm on draft 4, and I think writing challenges are a lot easier to do when I have a blank piece of paper in front of me. So like draft 1 or draft 2, even draft 3, I think this could have been appropriate because I think for all of those drafts or most of them, I pretty much sat down and rewrote everything from scratch. I think on the 3rd draft, I would copy the chapters over, but I would rewrite most of it. But now with draft 4, it is very much, I know I'm only on chapter 5, but what I've noticed in these 5 chapters is the majority of my work I am copying from the last draft and I'm just improving it. I'm adding in story parts that weren't there. If I have to break things up like I did in this chapter, I just kind of make them go together, but I'm keeping a lot of dialogue or parts of dialogue, parts of description. So I'm not really truly sitting down and writing sometimes. A lot of it is revising. I am working through the sentences and the paragraphs a lot, like rewriting them and things like that. But when you're rewriting something over and over and trying to get it to sound right or trying to figure out how to put a piece of information in a paragraph, that takes a lot of time, and it's also, you're not capturing that rewriting aspect. Like I've probably written more than 2,800 words I wrote today? 25. I'm overestimating. But I probably wrote more than 2,500 words today, but I didn't keep track. Like there's no way to keep track of the rewriting aspect. So this is only this is how many words is in chapter 5 is what I ended up with. I think it's a close writing count to what I would have gotten if I had just sat down and written. 2,500 is kind of what I would get in a full day of writing. I don't think it's a wildly inappropriate number or anything like that, but I'm just not sure this is the right time. Another reason is because I'm trying to fix major errors in my story. So I'm looking at like the character, is the character doing what they're supposed to do? Are they saying the things they need to say? Is what they're saying indicative of their character? And I'm kind of doing the same thing with the plot. Are all the important pieces of information in there? Is it flowing in the way it's supposed to? And I'm really analyzing this as I'm writing, and I'm trying to fix it as I'm going along, as opposed to writing an earlier draft of my story where I just sit down and like the words come out and it doesn't really matter if it makes sense, and it doesn't matter if there's a plot hole. I think writing challenges are probably better suited to the earlier stages when I'm just free flowing the words, as opposed to now where I'm kind of cutting and pasting and revising. I've felt pressure today to keep going through the chapter instead of fixing things that needed to be fixed, because I had this word count goal that I had. And I know earlier I said I was going to put off some of the revisions until I finished this chapter. While I think that was still the best approach, I've finished the chapter, and now I'm kind of like, okay, I know what the next chapter is. I really should go back and work on the previous chapter, but I have this word count goal for tomorrow and my writing challenge, and I really don't have a choice but to keep going. Or I could redo the word count to do chapter 4 tomorrow, but I just don't think that's fair. I think when I'm in this later stage revision process, a word count goal is hard because it's hard to A, count the words when you're revising, and then B, it pressures you into doing work and to speed through the process when speed is kind of your enemy during a revision process. But I'm glad I still tried the challenge. It was good. It's forcing me to work longer on my work, longer than I normally would. And I feel like I've made up for a lot of lost time from being sick. And I'm glad that I did this. One of my themes for draft 4 is trying new things and trying things I wouldn't typically do just to see how everything works. And I'm trying, I don't know the last time I did a writing challenge. It may have been draft 3, but it was probably more like draft 2. And now I know a writing challenge probably isn't appropriate in this stage of the, drafting process, and I probably won't do it again. That's one thing I love about writing is you can always try things and just figuring out what works. It's fun, even though this process hasn't been super great for me, this word count challenge, it's been fun to try, and I'm learning, and I think that's what's the most important. I have been rambling for quite some time, and I want to relax and take a break tonight before I get back into it tomorrow and hopefully finish my 5,000 words in 1 weekend challenge. So I'm going to go ahead and go to bed and rest up, and hopefully I'll be full of energy to write tomorrow. I just finished chapter 6, and I have reached 5,000 words for the weekend. I'm really, really proud of myself. That's a good amount of work, and it honestly wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Today, I wrote 1,350 words, bringing my grand total for the weekend to 5,086. This chapter was a bit short, but I have always planned it that way, because it's kind of a cliffhanger chapter, and then the next chapter will finish up where the cliffhanger left off. But regardless, I'm really glad I got through another chapter, and that also means that I wrote 3 chapters this weekend, which is honestly a lot more than I thought I was going to be able to do. I'm still not 100% recovered from my sickness, but I do feel a lot better than I did even 2 days ago, and I think that really shows with my writing. It hasn't really been a struggle to write. I've been able to focus a lot better and get my word counts in and get my work done, which was a huge issue when I was sick. It was so hard just to sit down and think. And I blew through these chapters in 3 days and wrote a bunch of words with time to spare. And I'm really proud of myself for that. Overall, I still have mixed feelings about doing this word count challenge. On the one hand, it was good because it forced me to sit down and get a lot of work done. And I don't think I would have been as productive as I was without this word count challenge. However, as I said last night, I still believe this really isn't the appropriate time to do it. I am so far into revisions that I just need time to revise, and word counts aren't really a goal when it comes to revising. With that being said, now I'm going to have to go back and revise the 3 chapters that I wrote this weekend. And I already know a bunch of things that I need to fix, and they're things that I put off so I could keep writing and get my word count goal. I probably went just a little too far in terms of how many chapters I wrote and how far I got in my story, just because as I was writing, I felt like I was digging myself in a hole a little bit in terms of getting a little bit further away from a more complete work, which I've been trying to do for this draft. But going back and revising the 3 chapters will really help me not feel this way. And I think once I get through the revising of these 3 chapters and get back to, I think the next chapter is chapter 7, I can get back into my regular rhythm. And I think my writing will be a lot better for it. I am a little sad because this will probably be my last word count challenge for quite some time. I won't do that anymore on Project Lily because Project Lily is just going to be pretty much revisions from here on out. And Project Lily is also going to be the main focus of my time for the next year or so. I do have novel number 2, which I'm working on, and that's probably the next time I'll do a word count challenge. But that is probably so far in the future. I don't even know if I would get to the point to start writing novel 2 this year. It's possible, but I just have no clue. It was fun to do a word count challenge anyway and try something new and shake things up with my draft because I've been doing a lot of the same recently. So it was nice for that change, but I definitely learned my lesson in this process, and this will be the last word count challenge in a while. At least I met my goal in this word count challenge and I got what I needed to accomplish, and I will see you in the next writing vlog.